Hello everyone and welcome to the When the Hell Do I Finish This Video? Another Decade Just Happened show. I'm here with a cum-guzzling cuck, a camel-shagging socialist, a gay Jew, and a diversity hire. Good evening to you all. As we know, former President Donald Trump stumbled and fell over recently as he overreacted to some loud popping noises in the bushes. This is what will be going in the history books, don't you worry. Meanwhile, I'm going to call whatever I'm still permitted to call it. I'm going to call it an assassination before it becomes a bannable offence to call it an assassination. I'm going to call it a setup by the deep state, because in a couple of weeks I could very well be forbidden from calling it a deep state setup. I'm going to call it a conspiracy, perhaps part of a coup. High treason, even, and the clock is ticking until they figure out exactly which words and phrases are verboten and which ones are not. This isn't our first rodeo, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking of rodeos, horse-fucking socialists, what do you have to say about the event?
I think it was dangerous and wrong. So you guys said, oh, well, this shouldn't be a partisan thing and we should turn down the rhetoric. And then you implied that maybe the Secret Service or the Biden administration allowed the shooting to happen.
They did. Unequivocally. Sorry if I merely implied it. I hereby unambiguously state it. Those whose job it was to not allow it to happen allowed it to happen. You know how I know that? That's right, because it happened. Someone didn't do their job properly. Let's not suddenly pretend they did. It's like how when on January the 6th, you all cried, oh my God, they're letting them in. And then on January the 7th, you all cried, oh my God, they were so not letting them in. These word games won't work on me. Playing hide the biscuit with simple terms like allow and let is not going to make me forget that what happened, Mr. Moose-fisting socialist. If you don't mind me saying so, you seem like an exceptional dullard even for a pig-scissoring socialist. And I'm not particularly interested in being a passive spectator while one of your faces argues with another.
Well, you kept talking about, oh, well, look, I'm not saying conspiracy theory.
Shut up.
Yeah, go ahead.
I am saying conspiracy theory, okay? I'm not going to get frightened away by you using a descriptive term. This isn't even my second rodeo. I believe nations should have sovereignty, and I believe men should have rights. You're not going to change my mind by reciting literal descriptions of these things as though you're calling me a derogatory name. And yes, I believe people conspire. Governments and their associated agencies conspire. All the time, as a matter of course, they conspire. They do it secretly because it's supposed to be secret. Do you think they don't? Ever? Do you think there's no such thing as classified? No, of course you don't. That would be ludicrously retarded. And that's how ludicrously retarded you're being when you say conspiracy theory, as though it's an impossible chimeric fantasy creature that only a clinically insane hobo could even conceive of.
If you say it's negligence, I'm with you. If you say it's malpractice, okay, I get it. 160 feet, why is he on the roof, etc. But you're clearly implying that it is odd, as in not negligence.
It can, in fact, be both. It's negligent to such a comical degree that it could be called odd. It's malpractice to such a jaw-dropping extent that it could be called odd. Look, if I suddenly do this, and I called you transgender...
Hey, get out of here, man. What the hell? Jesus Christ with these lunatic Republicans. Total lunatic Republicans.
See, that's only the second time I've ever done that effect. It's been 10 years. The last time it was literally who, wasn't it? Oh, and it's not the first time some large man has infiltrated your convention space and hilariously trolled you. But it's still reasonably rare, and so it's odd. Of course, you yelling Republican lunatic and Anna yelling get off the stage, you fat fuck, I imagine not so rare.
So I find it deeply troubling. I think that there should be an investigation to see how they screwed this up.
Agreed. People belong in prison. Starting with Kim Cheadle.
I think the fact that they didn't get there on the roof quicker it speaks
Odd.
poorly of them. On the other hand, can we acknowledge that the Secret Service surrounded the president and would have taken a bullet for him and would have died for him? But all they're getting now is odd conspiracy theories about
My
how.
dear, sweet, dolphin, rusty, tromboning socialist. The Secret Service was indeed supposed to take a bullet for him, but one of them cowered behind him. Another one ducked in front of him, as seen in that photo by billions of people already. Many of them sat around picking their asses when they should have been shooting the assailant, and none of them thought to get Trump off the podium for 20 minutes while the shooter himself was picking his ass out of boredom. They got an A grade for that from their director. Under oath, no less. Yeah, they did not do their jobs properly, and that would be why you would want an investigation. Yes? If you'd rather just have another argument with yourself, I think I'll shoot off and find a healthier way to masturbate.
Aren't you implying that they let it happen?
No, I'm stating it. They literally did let it happen on account of it happened. That's what let means.
What does odd mean?
What does mean? What does does mean? But how deep are we going to go down this rabbit's ass? Well, let me pull us out for a moment. All right. It's actually not all that odd in its characteristics as a schemata. I know it seems like a leap of imagination, but it comes down to the likelihood of the following exchange taking place in an intelligence agency. Ahem. How do we get away with it this time? Patsy. Now, I know that sounds mental, right? I imagine it's quite a struggle for you as you internally congratulate yourself at knowing what Patsy means, but at the same time, right now it's not in your best interests to know that exists, so you're going to have to selectively forget why such a word exists or that such a concept exists. It's because it's a thing that happens, isn't it? When gullible rando plebs get swindled by evil bastards in high places. Would you say the US intelligence agencies do not qualify as evil bastards and or in high places? Or is that just on this occasion they would never do that? They'd do it with the Gretchen Whitmer fake kidnapping thing. Remember that? They did it with the Kennedy thing. It's practically the same script as the Trump thing. It's like a HBO soft reboot sequel. Kennedy 2. Maybe Kennedy 3. Kennedy 3, : there's no possible way they're going to believe this bullshit again, ... Yeah, no, yeah. All you have to do is flip it over. They'd do it to my guy, but they'd never do it to the other guy. So yeah, they just took the template of the Kennedy assassination, swapped over the blue D and the red R, and now the Ds believe the exact opposite thing. That's certainly not odd. It happens every second of the day. It would be odd if it didn't.
So you're telling me that you know that under Biden, Trump, and all the other presidents, that every roof had a Secret Service person on it?
No! Buffalo nonsing socialist. I am saying I do not know everything. There is room in my conscience for gaps in my knowledge. As such, I am open to the possibility that some shady shit might have been committed by agencies with a storied history of shady shit. You, on the other hand, seem to be unwaveringly certain that no such shady shit could possibly have taken place. You called it dangerous and wrong to even imply that these secret agencies with a storied history of lying might be telling some lies.
You're saying it like the Epstein thing was odd. The Epstein thing was actually odd. So the video camera's out. That makes me think, yes, there was something planned. I'm brave enough to say that. Instead, you're implying...
Well, shucks and giggities, you're brave enough to say something that everyone is allowed to say. That's right, allowed. Everyone's allowed to say, except the legacy media, of course. The same legacy media spluttering the same Democrat propaganda as you and gets just as handsomely rewarded for it as you. The only difference seems to be that you're allowed to say Epstein didn't kill himself, and you're allowed to tell Joe Biden to drop out like a few months before the rest of you. And now you're trying to get me to say the thing that you are not allowed to say, even though I've already said it, not just implied it. The thing you're evidently not brave enough to say. You're not even allowed to imply it.
So just say it then. What does odd mean?
It means the deep state tried to kill Donald Trump. If perchance I stuttered, let me repeat that. The deep state tried to kill Donald Trump. They tried to impeach him. They tried to bankrupt him. They tried to imprison him. They tried to murder him. What does the deep state mean? The FBI, the CIA, the DHS, the DOJ, and of course, the Department of Secret Services and various other alphabet agencies and their spin doctors behind the scenes who were never elected and will never be held accountable, and the office of the president, who was never elected and will never be held accountable. Which one of them are talking about? Hey, isn't that the funny thing? You say the Epstein thing is odd because the video camera was out? How about the Trump thing is odd because an entire sector of the perimeter was out? That exact sector in which a 20-year-old loner with no internet footprint just happened to appear with a bloody great sniper rifle without the slightest challenge. You know what else is out? Any recordings of radio communications among the secret services that day. Just poof. Conveniently not there. Kind of like Epstein. Man who's supposed to have the benefit of maximum security does not get it. Odd. Man who's supposed to have the benefit of maximum security does not get it. Not odd. You really are a lesser creature. Walrus gunging socialist. I know that sounds dehumanizing, but I don't mean it that way. I mean, you're a human. You can't think for yourself. And I'm sorry, but yes, that is lesser. It's quite significant, actually. It drains patience to the inevitable point of shortage. I'm afraid I can't help you.
So you're implying that there is a chance that it was planned?
Yes. Just yes. Not even a Chad yes. Not even a regular yes. It's a head desk yes. I haven't done one of those in a while either. Cenk, I can't think of another one. Cenk, you contain less electrical energy than a potato. But you look like one. And you act like one. You think you are the resistance, but all you do is obey. Big Brother is a metaphor for this. And we never needed to puzzle deep and hard about what Big Brother is supposed to represent. It's obvious. Funnily enough, one simply sees it in one's own image. Hence the oikophobic impulses, of which I'm already sick, Mr. Hyena getting pegged by the pseudo-penis socialist. You may fuck off now. Okay, so, come guzzling cuck, what do you think? Have you gone too far? Is there such a thing as you going too far?
Absolutely not. Conservatives have completely bled that well dry. And the idea that they, after engaging in the most divisive and most extreme rhetoric that this country has seen in recent history, that they would come on and beg for sympathy, that it's escalated into some kind of violent confrontation is absolutely insane. Even the idea right now of saying, well, if you call somebody a Nazi for so long, it's, what do you expect people to do?
Riot in the streets? Set fire to everything because a criminal killed himself? Or just drive a truck down a highway? That's all it takes to be called a Nazi these days. Refusing euthanasia, stuff like that. Owning property, not having your children mutilated. Expressing frustration about the parades marching down our streets chanting from the river to the sea. That makes you a Nazi now. To clarify, not the genocide mobs. Just your noticing of the genocide mobs. That's what makes you a Nazi. Well, curiously, not making the genocide mobs Nazis. There are many things to notice, dear friends, and we can notice them all together in due course. To return to the point, when you call us Nazis, while vowing to kill all Nazis, we do not resort to violence. We certainly don't check notes. Oh yeah, it wasn't us who tried to assassinate someone. What in the sea lion succotash are you talking about?
I grew up listening to Rush Limbaugh call Obama a communist every single day he was on the radio.
Debatable. More to the point, calling everyone Nazis is something communists do. Calling everyone communists is something Nazis do. You, sir, are calling everyone conservatives. Even though that's clearly not as bad as Nazi, to you, conservative is a derogatory catch-all, thought-terminating cliche in the same way Nazi is for a communist. Given that conservative is further left than Nazi, you are, if we plot this correctly, further left than a communist. Yeah, you're off the chart altogether. You're in a world where there is no word for you. You're like an imaginary number, like I. You are the square root of -1 in so many ways, my brother. You're an entity in a timeless void whose only purpose is to buttress an idea so evil that even communists couldn't think of it. And I bet you think I'm complimenting you, don't you? And from your perspective, I suppose I am.
You've got conservatives that talk about how the mRNA vaccines were ways to sneak microchips into us. You've got...
They have killed people, though, haven't they? Some people told you there were microchips in it. They have not been proved right. Some people told you it can kill you, and they have been proved right. Some of them are conservative, some of them are not. Some of them are not interested in your black and white political struggle sessions. They're just trying to help you not die. But fuck them. I'm just going to call them all conservatives, and now I don't care. Well, you know what? I would care if you died. Just like a little bit, maybe. Just like I do care if Biden is alive or dead. Especially when he disappears in mysterious circumstances. I do kind of care. Lots of people do. Which goes to show you, Biden supporters want Trump dead, and they're admitting it. Trump supporters want Biden alive, and they're demanding it. We are not the same.
COVID lockdowns that were done because the government was trying to take all your freedom away.
That's exactly what happened. Your freedoms were taken away, weren't they? Why did that happen? Because the government tried to do it, and successfully. You're literally describing what happened, and you're acting as though it's a conspiracy theory. These crazy conservatives who think the government is tracking your data, they think the cameras are watching you. They think your employers are secretly reading your resume.
They won't acknowledge anything that happened on January 6th.
Some protesters got attacked and some got thrown in prison without trial. I hereby acknowledge it.
They say that the election was stolen and that your country is being taken from you. Like,
am I allowed to argue with you here? I keep forgetting on this platform. Am I let? And is this odd?
I don't think anybody should be killed. I don't think anybody should go out and kill anybody. But when you engage in this type of rhetoric...
For this type of rhetoric, read things that are true.
And when you turn the temperature up over and over and over and over again...
You blame it on the frog for jumping higher and higher and higher again. And where do you go from there?
Fuck it. Fuck the dude. The firefighter guy. Fuck Trump. Fuck the people that support him. I just want you to know, okay? Just in case you're confused or it seems like I'm... whatever. If one of you were in the crowd and you're a conservative fan of mine and you end up, getting blown away or whatever the fuck, I'm making fun of you the next day on Twitter. I am. 100%.
Would it be hypocritical of me to inquire as to what conservative means? I only ask because it's doing quite a lot of heavy lifting in your worldview there. Namely the I will cheer for your death thing. I'll cheer for your death. Even while you pay me to exist, I will cheer for your death and your family's death because you are a, checks notes, conservative. As far as I can tell, as broadly and as concisely as I can tell, progressive means how about we change this, and conservative means how about we don't. Now, to me, reductive as though that may sound, that seems to be the beginning of a productive conversation. However, in this world in which we found ourselves, there's quite a glut of persons identifying as progressive for whom this is not an acceptable premise for the beginning of a productive conversation. They have a different approach. Their idea of ethics, of logic, of justice, of science is how about we change this or we'll kill you. And we'll dance on your corpse, and we'll eat your brains, and we'll drink kombucha from the skull of your firstborn, and we will laugh. I've heard this guy described as a moderate. like he's the kind of person to whom people can reach out across the aisle, like in good faith and all that jazz. Magic. It's magic when famous people make each other more famous. Yes, I do question my life choices sometimes. I am a swamp creature. And I want you to walk a mile in my swamp. Please continue, cum guzzling cock. Oh, we're not getting this sound. Can we? Okay, someone's gonna try and get this figured out as soon as probable. What is wrong with his jaw? Has anyone else seen that? Like, it keep sort of dislodging itself. I'm not being funny. This is a problem I've had with puppets.
Now, when something happens to them, now they're looking for sympathy.
Oh no, absolutely not. No, why would anyone want sympathy from you? That's like getting blood from a stone with AIDS. It's like getting milk from the back end of the cow. Do you see? It's like getting baking yeast from a pussy full of someone else's fermented semen. Yeah, no. Nobody wants, needs, or expects your sympathy. You're a fucking death cult with the mask fully off at this point. You wish for death. You worship death. And we have completely run out of sympathy for you. So we don't care if your rallying cry for murder ends up losing you your job, wherever the fuck you might work. For 8 years, people have been fired just for supporting Trump. People have been shot just for supporting Trump. Now you're getting temporarily demonetized for supporting murder. We are not the same. I know you don't see the difference. That's how we're not the same.
My issue with the MAGA kids is not that they are not empathetic. My issue is that they support a president that led an insurrection against the United States.
You mean Kamala Harris? Do you mean the time Donald Trump didn't overthrow the presidency, or do you mean the time Kamala Harris did? You mean the thing that isn't the thing, don't you? Not the thing that isn't. Extraordinary.
What about it? We're talking about Donald Trump. We're talking about the temperature of this country. But here's a question for the two panelists. What percentage of this event happening was due to Donald Trump's rhetoric? What do they think the answer to that question is?
His rhetoric? Well, he had a big screen with a chart on it, which he was using as a rhetorical device. And when he turned his head toward it to make a rhetorical point, he dodged a bullet. So his rhetoric played a crucial role in this event. It saved his life. Is that what you mean? Or were you inviting us to join you in your victim blaming? That's it, isn't it? I'm going with 50% blame the victim. Well, Steve, I think I could go to 70. Price is Right rules. Remember, closest without going over. It was 100. That's right. The victim was 100% to blame. He deserved to be killed because of the rhetoric he was wearing. Thanks for playing, everyone. How delightful.
Who was engaged in a more divisive rhetoric over the 8 years? If you had to guess, if you had to assign a rough percentage.
You! You are condoning violence. You are supporting murder. That is some pretty skimpy rhetoric you're wearing. Do you deserve to be murdered? Given that you support murder, might that sort of follow? I'm going to go ahead and say no, by the way. You may want me dead, but I do not want you dead. I'm not that far gone yet. And maybe that's naive of me to still be clinging to some moral high ground after all this bullshit. But come back in a couple of years down the apocalypse. And we'll see how I feel. We shall see what you've turned me into by then.
It sounds grotesque, but the environment that we're in right now is grotesque.
What do you mean?
I grew up in Nebraska.
Oh. See, I thought you meant the death cult thing.
Vaccines will kill you, okay? I've got 3 dead family members.
Whoa there, champ! I'm going to have to interrupt you there. Readers added some context that they thought you might like to know. You are highly unlikely to be killed by a vaccine. Vaccines are tested rigorously for decades before they make it to general usage in order to ensure that the risk is as minimal as possible. Experimental concoctions of spike proteins and lipid nanoparticles, on the other hand, will indeed kill 3 members of your family and counting. And this gurning gremlin from the hyper-tanky dimension will laugh at you too, while he continues to promote the bioweapon that's killing your family, and he'll call it a vaccine. He'll promote the war that's killing your family, and he'll call it peace. He'll promote the famine that kills your family, and he'll call it green. It's a death cult, folks. They painted it with a rainbow to disguise it because they think you're stupid and they're right, and they want you dead. Yeah, and I don't mean, it's not about being mindful of death. It's not about gracefully accepting it as part of an inevitable natural cycle. No, they don't care about any of that shit. They just actually want you dead and burned and erased from history, and they want it yesterday. They will do anything that accelerates your death. They will go along with any lie that facilitates your death. Many of them don't know they're lying, but that's by the by. The purpose of a system is what it does. And what it does is death. By any means necessary. Did you find this helpful? We lost the sound again. Oh, God. Sorry, folks. It wouldn't be a real show without technical difficulties. Someone would have let him know we can't hear him. Dude, how did you talk like that? With your jaw just lunging around like it's trying to catch droplets of cum. It's stressful to look at. I can't even hear you speaking, but it's still unbearably exhausting just watching your face rattle around like this broken clockwork toy that surgeons found in a dead nonce's anus.
Because it's not just the jokes. It's the underlying substantive analysis as well. It's the lack of responsibility for January 6th.
They're in jail. Hundreds of them. Many still without trial. Or even bail. Never mind a bail fund. Life really sucks when your mostly peaceful protest is not endorsed and financed by Kamala Harris.
It's the lack of responsibility for the Gretchen plot.
That was the FBI, bro. That was the FBI via the good old-fashioned patsy entrapment. They admitted it, my dude. Even when the FBI itself has agreed to stop lying, to stop insulting people's intelligence, you still carry on covering for their asses anyway. You will do the evil empire's propaganda grunt work for them above and beyond the call of duty. You lie even more than the FBI lies. What's that like, bro? What's it like in your mind? You speak of responsibility while you make excuses for lawless criminal organizations, taking everything they do wrong and repackaging the blame squarely in the evil, nefarious face of, let me check my notes again, conservatives. People who have got as far as saying, how about we don't? That's who you're blaming. That's how many people you're blaming for the actions of the FBI. Is anyone in doubt at this point that the FBI is being run by people exactly like Come Guzzling Cuck here?
Do you think J6 was a false flag?
Do you think J13 was staged? Is that me committing a whataboutism? Or is that me taking your whataboutism and then editing it back where it belongs?
Not absolutely. And then I would say, wow, well, nothing has changed from since before COVID, before the vaccines, before J6, when they thought the election was stolen, when they thought that we were forced into lockdowns for no reason.
We were. Okay, so people who tell the truth are the actual target of your murderous cult mentality. You just call them conservatives because that's somehow the worst thing you can think of. So normally it's fascists, Nazis, that sort of thing. But you can't see the far right of the political compass because, again, you're off here in fuckwad space propping up totalitarian communism from another dimension. Folks, this man is not a serious person. His mouth is 100 times bigger than his brain and he can't keep his face still. It's like Obelix, who fell into the cauldron of magic potion when he was a baby. I think this guy fell into a truckload of meth when he was a fetus. That explains as much as I'm peripherally interested in explaining. So, Mr. Come Guzzling Cuck, we know you support death. We know how much you love death and worship it. We just want to know, is there anything you enjoy just about life?
No.
Fair enough. If I were you, I'd kill myself too. But I'm not, so don't kill yourself, folks. And for fuck's sake, don't kill anyone else either. Controversial statement, I know. All right then. Gay Jew, diversity hire. Thanks for coming on. I'm afraid that's all we got time for. Remember, keep your friends close and eat the rotten asses of your enemies. Does that work? I don't think that works. Whatever, shut up. Good night, everybody. Don't hit like, don't hit subscribe, don't hit the notification bell. None of it does anything, but please give me money. I need it. Links below. Join me on Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey, and join me every Tuesday and Thursday over at Badger Livestreams. I never went away, folks. I've always been here. I've always shivered nervously behind these eyes, alone in the dark, with brain matter dripping like I think the meds have kicked in. Bitches leave!